Hi, my name's Zane, and I'm going to be talking to you about screencasting, something I've been doing for 2 or 3 years at least. Previous to that I used to do audio recording, so I'm going to talk about that as well. So I suppose the first question really is what is a screencast? Well, you're looking at one. Generally it would be learning software, for example, is a very good use of it. So, and I usually do this actually during my lectures. It's very seldom I actually record stuff outside of the classroom. However, it's totally doable as well. So in the classroom I would just run my class as I normally would, and record what's happening on the screen and audio from me. I'll talk about equipment in a second, and then I put that up onto a local server. The files tend to be a little bit large, sort of 400 or 500 meg. That covers though about a 2-hour class, so it's very usable. The students can either watch it in class or they can stick it onto their own local hard drives or memory sticks if they want to take it home. I'm also going to talk about, actually I might as well talk about that now. I also use it to give feedback to the students. So when I do their marking, in fact I've got a little example here. When I do marking for them, I'll actually give each of them an individual screencast that I just actually drop into Dropbox and send them a link to it. And sometimes, like in this case, I've given general feedback. So here you can see. Hi everybody, I thought I'd just give everybody some general tips, because there's a lot of mistakes that people are making either with their layout. So they can watch that from home because it's via Dropbox or here at Unitech. And then they'll also get it like a link to feedback about their actual assignment. And so I actually, Zara, just going through your first assignment, etc. There's a bit of Zane overload there now. So yeah, I just go through, just do my marking as I normally would. In this case, it's a printed assignment with a digital drop-in as well of a ArchiCAD assignment. So I can go through and I can give them feedback. Sometimes it's be quite long. I mean, this one's what, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Sometimes really long, sometimes very short. Got enough elevation between the bottom field and the top field. Yeah, etc, etc. They can see exactly what I'm doing. Note as well, actually while we're there, that you can actually see, for example, drawing ID written in there. So what you do, mute that. You can see the keyboard shortcuts I'm using, which is very powerful. Not all of the software records the keyboard shortcut, so you just have to choose carefully. I'll talk about software soon. Alright, so how do we all do this? Well, as I said, I started off actually doing audio recordings, and you can do that just by I usually use, and in fact I still use this solution, is a lapel microphone, which looks kind of like that. And I wear this. That means you can walk around the classroom. If you're anything like me, I don't just sit behind the computer and preach. I quite often have to get up and talk to people individually and move around the classroom. So that plugs into the computer. The other one I wear, and I used to do that just for audio as well. So if you're doing lecture-based stuff, you're not actually doing anything on screen, or perhaps it's just a slideshow, you could still use this solution. Also in the field, I've got a audio recorder. We've got a few of these. We've got different types of ones. Some will record video, some record audio. This particular one is a Zoom microphone, which looks something like that. So, okay, technically it's not a screencast, but you're still achieving the same thing. So you could do a crit or a lecture. You can plug that in. You can actually even connect up. This particular one has other audio input, so we could plug in a shotgun mic, or generic microphone, and to capture perhaps the audio from people doing the critiquing, or just the general ambience from the audience, or even plug in a lapel mic into that the presenter wears, so you get nice crisp clean audio from them and from the crowd as well. Alright, if you're doing, like in this case, I've actually got, I can't really show you, I suppose I can show you the box. So at the moment I'm using a desktop microphone, which looks something like that. So you get a nice clean, clear audio track. You can also just use the audio straight from the computer. If you're using a Mac, they will have a microphone built into the display, which they're all right. But the problem with them, especially in the classroom, is if you walk away or you look away from the screen, the audio drops right out. So it's not very ideal. But yeah, there is lots of solutions, but that's what we use. On the side of software, the main one that we use on the Macs, or at least the one that I use, is Screenflow, which is what I'm using currently. Once I've finished recording, I get a nice interface. It looks just like a simple editor, and you can add text and other little speech bubbles. You know, you can put an insert from the video camera, and the keyboard shortcuts are being used. On the PCs, we use Camtasia, which looks something like this. So here we've got Camtasia, and it's really good on the PC. The Mac version is getting better. It's getting a lot better actually. The latest version of Camtasia for Mac records the keyboard shortcuts as well. So whenever you're typing or doing keyboard shortcuts, it's not quite as good as Screenflow, sorry. But it is good. But the PC version's fantastic. But they aren't compatible with each other. They're actually two very different programs. There's also another one called Jing, which is free. So it's a good place to start. In fact, I can run that one. So now Jing is a funny little program. It gives you this little yellow thing up in the top corner. So when you want to do a screencast, you can actually just do like a box or the whole screen, or just certain elements. So let's did a recording of this. I can actually capture just a still image or video. And so now I could, like, whatever I do inside of this window, you'll see, but if I move out here, you won't see anything. So yeah, I can go and launch Camtasia. I don't know what happens when you run 3 screen capture softwares at the same time, but we're about to find out. I might just cancel that one. So that's that one done, and it should pop up with, there we go, so here's some screencasts. No, what's happened to the one I just did? Oh, did I cancel it, did I? That was a bit silly. Oops. I guess if we record this, alright. As you can see, I don't use this software all the time. Record video, we'll record it from here. Mic's on in 3, 2, 1. They all seem to do that as well, don't know why. So you can go through here, and then you hit finish. Oh yeah, I hit cancel. Oops. Alright, and so now it goes through and it does it. They all seem to do that as well, don't know why. So you can go through here, etc, etc. Jing also has, and Camtasia actually, have, they're from the same software company, TechSmith. They also have another product, or another service I suppose you'd say, for doing, for delivering the screencast. So this is called Screencast.com, and we've got a certain amount of storage, and it's a way of delivering the screencasts. So yeah, which is great. It is a nice free option. It doesn't record the keyboard shortcuts, so if you're teaching software, not fantastic. But there, of course, there's lots of ways of delivering media now to students, either YouTube, which Screenflow actually delivers directly to YouTube. There's also Vimeo, Google Drive, or as I showed, using Dropbox, so just using the Dropbox public folder and sending a link. I find that to be a nice secure way of doing it. But there is lots of ways of delivering content. So, what else do I need to talk about? Pros and cons of doing screencasts. Well, for 90% of students, it's fantastic. They really appreciate it. They come to class. They can watch. In fact, some of them will even watch, because I allow them to see previous years. Sorry, typical male, can't do 2 things at the same time. They can look at previous classes that I've taught. So for example, with Land 6230 CAD Studio. So here's all the lecture recordings. So there's all the 2012 lecture recordings. And so they can go to any of these, and it's got the text there, and it's got the entire class. So showing everything that I did during that class. You can actually steal the which is really convenient. So they can watch the previous class, or obviously can watch their classes. Which, as I said, 90% of students benefit from immensely. Then you get 10% of students, or maybe less, who think, I don't need to come to class, I'll just watch the screen recordings. They don't watch the screen recordings, and then all of a sudden they've got 6 hours of screen recordings to watch, and they fall behind. So you do have to be careful of that. Also, occasionally the software crashes, or you lose the recording, or the batteries go flat in your microphone. That's happened before. And so you lose the screen recording, which, especially if it's the first time through, can be devastating, because all of a sudden all these students who didn't bother coming to class because they're just going to watch the screen recording have nothing to watch. So you can see that this has happened a couple of times. Last year, you can see here, for some reason we had problems with the computer, and so for 2 weeks in a row the audio failed. Okay, and we're having problems with the computer. We fixed that eventually, and so away we go. So here all I've done is given a link back to the previous year's lecture recordings, but then depends on how much your class changes as well. So like, I know I've got a lot of changes to make to this class this year, so the screen recordings aren't going to be completely compatible, I suppose you'd say, completely relevant. But as I said, for at least 90% of students, they love it. They just think it's the best thing. It also it saves you a lot of time. The first time around, okay, you're getting used to the technology, but after the first time you get used to it, it actually does save you a lot of time, because I don't have to have students coming to me one after another saying, how do I import a PDF document into ArchiCAD, and then giving the same thing over and over and over and over. I can just say it's in lecture recording number 2, about halfway through. And they love it, because they get to see it, they get to do it at their own pace. They can rewind it and play it back, and rewind it and play it back. You do have to encourage your students to bring headphones, because otherwise they drive each other nuts. But generally it is a very powerful tool. Oh look, Camtasia is running in the background. I might as well show Camtasia. So again, we can record. Camtasia for the Mac now does record keyboard shortcuts, but I don't think it's not all keyboard shortcuts. Like, it seems to like doing things like file new and things like that. But when you go and type in boxes, quite often it doesn't seem to record it. So let's say we're going to put a sphere in here, and I go and change its dimensions. I have a funny feeling. Now we've got an egg. Now let's go and stop that recording. Sorry, a little bit off topic, but well, not off topic, but out of order, isn't it? Anyway, so so there's Camtasia. Hit play. And then we go into video effects, keystroke, and I can drop that in here. And we'll see. So there's the Command N keyboard shortcuts. Right, we can move that around. You can change the way that these things look. We're not going to go into that. But we are going to type in a value. Nothing. So so it records like Command N, Command V, Command C, that sort of thing. I'm not sure about the PC version, if it records. I think it records everything. But the Mac version only seems to show the normal keyboard shortcuts. Any questions? No? Excellent. Alright. You can flick me an email. I'll throw my address up on the screen. But that's about it. Alright. Thanks a lot.